First leg, Jelle to throw first. Game on.
Paul Nicholson and Dan Dawson in the commentary box for this one. Jelle has the throw.
He has indeed.
95.
This fixture is always fascinating. One Dutchman has already departed from the quarterfinals, and that is Michael van Gerwen's best friend. And it looks like Michael van Gerwen has got absolutely no desire to go home yet.
140.
But then again, neither does Klaasen.
Well, Jelle Klaasen, until the last few weeks and months really, has been one of the most consistent performers on the European Tour. Back end of last year and the start of this year, he had 5 Euro Tours in a row, making the semi-finals or the final.
96.
Prior to that, he was consistently averaging a ton plus, often for a tournament. And yet,
96.
he would run into Michael van Gerwen over and over and over again. And Michael van Gerwen would batter him. Jelle Klaasen, make no mistake, could have won a number of Euro Tour titles were it not for that man he's faced there. He's made it his business to beat the Cobra.
64. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not whistle while the players are throwing. If someone would like to point that gentleman out, or the person it is, please stop that. Thank you.
George Noble, quite right too.
Well, it was happening last week as well during the Van Gerwen Michael Smith match. Good to see the referee nipping in the bud right now. Double 16 for Klaasen. Somewhat awkward double 8, perhaps.
78.
He may be punished for that.
65.
25. It's a bull. It's double 6. He gets it.
In the first leg, Michael van Gerwen.
It's a very, very valuable break at the very start of this
Second
match.
leg, Michael to throw first.
You cannot afford any mistakes. That is Michael van Gerwen's mantra. And Jelle Klaasen has just had a couple of mistakes in the very first leg and seen his throw broken. The last 11 times these two have met, MVG has emerged victorious. Often they have been crushing defeats for Klaasen. It has not mattered what he has done. Particularly on the European Tour. 7 of those 11 games have come on Euro Tour stages. It just underlines how Klaasen's brilliance on the Euro Tour and his consistency on the Euro Tour has ultimately meant very little when he's come up against the world #1, who very often has produced one of, if not his best display of those tournaments, to knock Klaasen out.
I have a theory about Jelle as well.
164.
Brilliant counting and brilliant execution from Klaasen. Hang on. 71. Likely's 58.
81.
I'll come back to my point in a minute.
145.
145 for Klaasen. 60 leaves 85. That leaves tops.
125.
Just wasn't enough height on that one. It did flick the flight. Tops for Van Gerwen, and he gets it.
Michael van Gerwen for Jelle to throw first.
Just as important as that break in the last leg. But yeah, I believe that if Jelle Klaasen was not in the Premier League this year, he would have had the operation on his wrist sooner. And if that had been the case, I think he'd be fully recovered by now. He said to me earlier in the week that he can practice now, which is phenomenal because he's a huge, hard worker. What a leg so far. They're not allowing me to get my point across. I'm just going to sit back and watch, though.
177.
6 perfect darts for Michael van Gerwen, and he has got rid of the awkward treble 19. It is 2 treble 20s for double 12 for a perfect leg. Can MVG produce the goods? Well, of course he can't. It's the European Tour, and Klaasen looks at a 136 to hold his throw and get a first leg on the board. Boos echoing round the Maymarkt Halle in Mannheim. They're desperate for a perfect leg.
46.
Well, they better get it tonight because we're not coming back here next year. 79. Tops.
60.
Just under the wire.
And
Klaasen now. He's forced, really, to go for the 20s on 90. Double 15. And the dart wasn't really sitting in his fingers properly before he threw it. Just a little bit of discomfort. Gives Van Gerwen more shots at double. to take a 3-0 advantage, but he splits the fives.
No score. Jelle requires
Not what we
30.
expected there from MVG.
He shows
And
the
Jelle
third leg.
Klaasen
Jelle
does get a
Klaasen.
first
Will
leg
play
on the
Michael
board.
to
Away
Rofa.
into this game, potentially. Michael van Gerwen averaged 111 against Richard North in round 2. It took him 9
139.
minutes to whitewash the mouth of the South. Basically 91 seconds per leg. Klaasen wasn't much slower in seeing off
125.
Jamie Bain in the second round. He was 97 seconds a leg. This is rapid fire stuff. The only
100.
thing that slowed it down was having a word with the crowd from George Noble. And look at this, 102 average, 105.
57.
This is a lot better from Jelle Klaasen. But I fear that just as when he's played fantastically on the European Tour before
92.
now against Michael van Gerwen, all he has done is play even more fantastically. They
Correct.
met in Jena, 107
99.
average for
Michael
MVG.
Gerwen,
Hildesheim,
170.
104. In Mannheim last year, Klaasen averaged 107, MVG averaged 115. It has just
90.
been Klaasen plus 6 or 7 points almost every single time they have met. The last 7 times on the Euro Tour, the last 11 times in all tournaments. Can Jelle Klaasen find a
59.
way
Michael
to
Gerwen,
overcome the world
80.
number 1? Because right now it is not looking particularly likely double 10, double 5.
He shows the full flag.
15
Michael van
data,
Gerwen. Fifth leg
3-1.
Jelle to throw first.
As I was saying earlier, when I was rudely interrupted by 2 180s, Jelle Klaasen
81.
has started to practice again, which is something that he couldn't do earlier in the year. But he still sleeps with a brace on his wrist, just in case something innocuous happens during the
140.
night. That's something that I actually use as well. I can understand how uncomfortable wrist tendonitis can be, but that brace can really stop
140.
any further injuries. It's a very smart tactic from Jelle, and he's going to need it because tendonitis is something that can come back.
100.
That is 3 maximums for the world number 1. 10 for the weekend for MVG.
100.
And just to put this into context, he has only dropped 2 legs in the 2 matches prior to this. 6-0 against Richard North, 6-2 against Gerwen Price this afternoon. It is not as if he's had lots of 6-4s and 6-5s in which to chuck all these maximums.
Well, I hate to say this for the Klaasen
78.
fans, but Van Gerwen looks like he's getting better
46.
as this game goes on. Double 16.
14.
Ooh.
Wow.
He thought that might have been
Jelle
going in.
102.
Well, it's not. And Klaasen, is this a must? Tops.
62.
Well, there was more power on that one
Michael
than the
Gerwen
last shot at
requires
tops,
32.
which flicked the flight on the way through. Double 8 for Van Gerwen,
He shows
It's
in the
there,
fifth
a
leg.
4-1
Michael van
lead.
Gerwen.
and he's still only lost 4 legs.
Sixth leg
Dan.
Michael to throw first.
3.
Game
this
on.
weekend. Klaasen, a couple of darts missed in the first leg, broken. A dart missed there, broken. You can't afford
100.
any mistakes against Michael van Gerwen, and the fact that you know that when you play him just makes it
97.
even harder to hit those doubles. And 1 out of 8 for Jelle Klaasen. It is not going to worry the world number 1. We
134.
did question whether, after taking that month off and becoming a new dad, whether he would come back hungry and in form. Well, he answered that emphatically at the Dutch Darts Masters
121.
last weekend, and he has just continued here this weekend. Nobody yet has got close to Michael van Gerwen,
100.
and so far, Jelle Klaasen has not got close to Michael van Gerwen in this game.
Well, we were talking before the quarterfinals as to
48.
who was going to be a threat to Van Gerwen.
67.
Well, Rob Cross is a threat, but the only way we'll see him is in the final. Bullseye, is he going to go for the showpiece shot? I think he is. Oh, it wasn't far away.
142.
Yeah, before today started, I thought Kyle Anderson potentially.
140.
Jelle took care of that.
25.
Daryl Gurney, Ian White took care of that. Is Van Gerwen going to take care of Klaasen?
He's
looking very likely now.
Michael van Gerwen. 7th leg Jelle to throw first.
You know what? That moment there with the big bullseye checkout, which he didn't need to go for the bull.
59.
And players will stop and they will look at the scoreboard and they'll go, do I need to go for this? Now, the only reason you look at the scoreboard to see if you do need to go for it is if they're on a finish. And if it turns out they're not,
140.
and you go for it anyway, that's about making a statement, isn't it? That is about sending a message out.
98.
It's not. I've just had a look at the score, so I know what the situation is. It's not like I was, he has done it to make a point.
100.
You're that far behind. I'm still going for it.
Well, in a darting sense, Michael van Gerwen sends more messages than a 13-year-old girl with a smartphone.
Well, the message is being received loud and clear by everyone here in Mannheim that Michael van Gerwen is in the hunt and hungry for a 5th Euro Tour title this
96.
year.
Michael,
And a
you require
19th,
81.
a staggering 19 for his career. Double 12, double 6. Oh, well, it's not going to be a 12 darter to round it off, but he may come back because Klaasen's looking at a massive one. And it's not going to happen. Michael van Gerwen left on double 3. It could be 2 double 2, but MVG just goes straight at it. 1 double 1 to close it out.
No score.
Has he just taken his foot off the pedal a little bit? 42 is the rating on the wall now.
Michael, you require 6.
Double 3.
Game,
It's
shot,
good this
and
time.
match,
The
Michael
world
van
number 1
Gerwen.
advances. He plays Simon Whitlock next. Klaasen, a much better weekend for the 9th seed. We will see more of him in Riesa in 2 weeks. But 102.56 for the world number 1.